The work done by Team South Africa at Expo 2020 Dubai is soon coming to an end. Hundreds of participants from the country have used their time at the global event to showcase what South Africa has to offer to the world. President Cyril Ramaphosa touched down in Dubai this morning. He's joined by a delegation of ministers, including Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, that's Minister Blade Nzimande, and he joins us now to tell us the plans for this working visit. Thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon. So how will this visit unlock South Africa's potential for high growth tech entrepreneurs and I guess in the higher education space?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me to be part of your program, and good afternoon to your viewers and listeners. Well, the first main aim of being here at the UAE is to strengthen relations between South Africa and the United Arab Emirates, both in the areas of science and innovation as well as in the area of higher education and training. We are at this point in time also working with the UAE on finalizing a memorandum of agreement of new cooperation programs. Now, these programs include, for instance, the following. The one area that we've concretely identified for cooperation, which is very important also for South Africa, is in the area of what is known as artificial intelligence, which is part of the new technologies now, to try and elevate our science and innovation to much higher levels. For instance, we've visited, which is quite a very unique university here in the United Arab Emirates, in Abu Dhabi, which is the University of Artificial Intelligence. That's dedicated to that, with 4 different master's programs and 3 different PhD programs. So we were looking at how we can actually be able to forge partnerships. In fact, during this visit, which was very constructive, we identified a number of areas for cooperation. The first one is student exchanges, where you can get South African students to come and study at this university or be placed for some time, as well as UAE students who could actually come to South African universities to look into areas of artificial intelligence. This will also be made possible by the fact that we identified another very concrete area of cooperation between this University of Artificial Intelligence with what is known as the Center for Artificial Intelligence Research, which we have in South Africa, which is a network of universities that are doing research work on the area of artificial intelligence. We also have another excellent institution, by the way, in South Africa, which is called the Africa Institute for Mathematical Sciences. In short, it's called AIMS, which is actually training students in master's and PhD programs in different areas of mathematical sciences. We also identified an opportunity of cooperation between the UAE's University of Artificial Intelligence as well as our Africa Institute for Mathematical Sciences.
Mr. Nzimande, if you will please allow me to join you. You speak of the mathematics space. There's one Professor Abdon Atangana, and he's said to be one of South Africa's top mathematicians, and he's released a book with some of his students. He's based out in the University of Free State. So when it comes to some of our offerings, South Africa holds its own in the science and innovation technology space. Maybe tell us as South Africans also, because we might not be aware or appreciate just how much work goes into this space. What are some of the greatest highlights that you can give us in terms of what we're doing?
Absolutely. You know, we haven't come here. I'm glad you asked me that question, because we haven't come here really to beg. We are coming here to say, as South Africa, we have a lot to offer the world, but we also have to learn from the world. So we are coming here to cooperate, not more or less, not actually to beg. Because as I have said, for instance, we've got a much more important network which is doing research on artificial intelligence with some of our academics in some of our universities, University of Pretoria, University of the Free State, University of the Western Cape. There are other people, for instance, who are doing very important work at the Durban University of Technology. Just to mention a few, the University of Cape Town also has got some excellent work that is being done on artificial intelligence. We also have a center that falls under the Department of Science and Innovation on high-level computing, which is also linked, by the way. One of our centers of excellence is the Square Kilometer Array in the Northern Cape, which is going to be generating a lot of data that will require a lot of mathematical and statistical capacity in the study, for instance, of astronomy, which is a very important part of the modern sciences that we actually have as South Africa. So there are quite a number. Also, as I was saying, the Africa Institute of Mathematical Sciences, let me just tell you also what they are going to be doing. They are going now to be offering another master's program to train schools math teachers. Those math teachers are going to do master's program. We are starting with 50 this year in mathematical sciences so as to improve the teaching of mathematics in our schooling system, which is something that is very important. So those are the things that are very important. The other thing I need to say is that we are hosting what are known as the World Economic Forum's Fourth Industrial Revolution centers. Both the United Arab Emirates host such a center. We also host such a center. But they've got something interesting we can learn from here, which they call the Future Foundation. They were, for instance, showing us, we visited one of their museums, which is called the Museum of the Future, which is like, it's a museum that is showing us what year 2071, for instance, is likely to be, and what are some of the things that will actually be happening. So those are the things that we are actually exchanging. Of course, I can't end this discussion without saying we are also visiting this trade expo, which is being held in Dubai this year. It's called Expo 2020 because it was supposed to be held in 2020. And South Africa has got a pavilion where we're actually showcasing some of our products that are being produced by our companies in South Africa, as well as also showcasing some of these science and innovation initiatives in South Africa, and to see what is it that we can actually offer to the world. So it really has been a very exciting trip, I must say, because there is a lot that we can cooperate around, and there are really many other opportunities that we can pursue as South Africa. And to say to our young people, by the way, the world is in your feet now. You know, you can become scientists, you can be able to engage and study in very important areas like artificial intelligence, for instance.
Mr. Nzimande, as you rightfully mentioned that you are not there to beg, you are also there to showcase just what South Africa is capable of. And you speak of young people having access to the world right at their feet. I do wonder, though, in terms of some of the agreements that will be signed, are we satisfied that they will benefit South Africans and everyday South Africans? I asked maybe perhaps, and I appreciate it's not your portfolio, but when we saw the exchange between Cuba and South Africa of some doctors, especially during the pandemic, South African doctors complaining that, you know, some of them are not even able to get space, they're not getting paid properly, but here we've imported people and yet they're treated much better than them.
Well, I think that the issue of Cuba and South Africa maybe is a subject for another day, because unfortunately we just think that there is a lot of disinformation and negative propaganda against Cuba. Cuba has done a lot for South Africa. We are short of medical practitioners, and what Cuba has done is to send us doctors that we do not have. They are not taking spaces for South African doctors. Instead, they are adding to the doctors that we actually have. Over and above that, we've got 9 medical schools. It's far from enough. We are training some other doctors in Cuba at a relatively affordable arrangement in order to massively increase the number of doctors that we have in South Africa. But there are those people who, by the way, when the Cubans fought with us to liberate this country, were opposed to it. They are the ones now who are taking us to court to say we cannot assist Cuba and so on. I would like actually to say to 405, give me an opportunity, for example, or the Minister of Health, to come and talk about how Cuba is helping us. And Cuba is not taking anybody's jobs. Instead, they are giving us more capacity we need. Now, here in the UAE, we are establishing partnerships that will be of benefit to South Africans, to actually train more South Africans, for instance, in the area of artificial intelligence, which is one of the more modern technologies. How do we make machines to think and act like humans? That's what artificial intelligence, for instance, is, amongst other things. We need that because that's the future of the world. Already now, if you go to Google, Google is artificial intelligence. You punch anything that you want to check, and then the information comes up. That's where the world is. And as South Africa, we need to be there. And our youngsters, through such cooperations that we are establishing, they're actually going to get more opportunities by also learning from what other countries are doing. That is the whole aim. I think that there is deliberate misinformation about what our international relations and cooperations are about. They are not about other people taking South African jobs, but they are about creating opportunities for young South Africans to be part of the world and also to contribute from the knowledge that we already have as South Africa. That is why this trip and this relationship with the UAE is actually going to be very important for our future and for our youngsters.
Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, Dr. Nzimande, thank you very much for availing yourself this afternoon.